2024 is officially upon us. Welcome, everybody. We want to make sure when we start the new year, we start it off with the right foot, with the right mindset, which is going to save us time, frustration, and money going forward. So without further ado, as we go into 2024 and you want to set yourself up for success, the first thing I would recommend to everybody listening to this is adaptability. It is so important in our everyday lives. We set up routines, we set up plans, we set up goals, and yet we have to recognize that failure at one point or another becomes inevitable. And if we can plan failure into our everyday lives and think, look, this is going to happen. And when it does, I need to be able to adapt. It's going to make a life a lot, I don't want to say easier, but it'll help you problem solve a lot easier. Why? If you're so committed to doing something perfectly and something starts to go wrong, you're going to force it and you're going to try to do it because this is what you said you were going to do and you're not a quitter. When in reality, if you just change your perspective and you go, okay, deep breath, how can I adapt? This isn't what I planned, but how can I change what I was going to do so that I can still get the best outcome here? And when you open yourself up to adaptability, you recognize that these problems or obstacles are actually opportunities. They're opportunities to work on your problem-solving skills so that there's a time for routine and there's a time to step away from routine and to have to modify. And to have that ability to be able to adapt on the spot, to modify, to tweak yourself in the moment is going to help you immensely in the new year. The next thing we're going to talk about is resilience. I know we talked about failure already, and we're going to have hurdles and we're going to have hardships. Folks, it is so important that we can become resilient. And resilience essentially means when something fails, when you apply for the job and you don't get it, when something doesn't go your way, you can pick yourself up and walk forward. A researcher by the name of Angela Duckworth wanted to look at what separates successful people from unsuccessful people. And the one term that she came up with, YouTube this if you're interested, it was called grit. And grit, to sum it up very simply, it's moving forward with persistence and effort in the face of adversity. So when you have problems, when it's tough, when it's hard, when you don't feel like it, the boxers would say, biting down on the mouthpiece and moving forward. Because there are things that aren't going to go your way. And it's important to be resilient so that when they don't go your way, you can lift yourself back up. And if we can do that, okay, well, look, let me just stop right there. Why? Usually advice we give to people every new year is, I hope it's a happy year. I hope it's a year filled with happiness and no stress and it's easy and it's loving and everything goes well. But folks, that never happens, ever. So instead of lying to people and saying, I wish you a new year filled with happiness and ease and not a moment of sadness, how about instead we look at each other and we go, I wish you an abundance of resilience. Because when the challenge comes, and believe me, it will, and when you get pushed and when you fall, it's not easy getting back up. But let me tell you, you can do it. And every time you get up, it makes you stronger for the next challenge to come. Number 3, mindfulness. Now, before people start clicking off this video and say, oh, he's going to talk about meditation and breathing and this and that and spirituality. Folks, when I say mindfulness, in the context of this video, I'm talking about deliberately doing one thing. This is going to sound crazy, but the next time you go to the bathroom, don't take your phone with you. The next time you go to the shower, don't take your speaker with you. The next time you're eating breakfast, don't watch YouTube. We've gotten so fascinated with this idea of multitasking. Let me listen to a podcast while making breakfast. Why? Because I can it's more efficient that way, right? Let me do multiple things at once. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But if for a small part of your day, you can focus on one thing, it will change your life. And I don't use those words often. I don't like to exaggerate. I don't like to amplify. I don't like to promise people big things because you have to deliver. Folks, from anecdotal experience, seeing how it's changed my own life, it's unfreaking believable. Why? we have lost the ability to sit with ourselves, to sit with boredom. And what happens is if we're so used to stimulating ourselves, the moment we have a negative thought, we reach our phone. The moment we get angry about something, we turn to something else to keep us stimulated. The moment I'm playing video games and it's getting boring, I have to do something on the side so I can do both things, rather than sitting with that boredom. How about the next time you're at a restaurant and you're waiting for your friend? Don't just scroll on your phone immediately. This is going to sound crazy, but just sit there. Just people watch. Look around. Take it in. And there's currently studies out there which suggest that people who give their brains time to decompress actually perform better. They perform better in studying. They perform better in athletic competitions. They're more present. They can engage more. Why? If you study hardcore for an hour and a half, and then during your breaks, you're listening to a really intense podcast, you're not giving your brain a chance to relax, a chance to calm down. That's why it's so important that you give your brain a minute to relax. Because the moment you wake up, what do? You reach your phone and you start scrolling. Your brain is stimulated. On to the next thing. And then if you keep listening to music or YouTube or Spotify or whatever, you keep stimulating your brain. And then you wonder why you get tired. Folks, we are overstimulated. So if we can keep that in mind, and even a little part of our day, even if it's just, look, for the first 10 minutes, I'm not going to go on my phone. I'm not going to check Instagram while I brush my teeth. That might be enough for you. Number 4, community and connection. Now, we're talking about the right mindset to have. The studies, look, the jury's out, okay? They've come back with the verdict. We all know the importance of meaningful relationships. We know the importance of being in a community, going to church, going to a club, being a part of something greater than ourselves. And the impact that has on not just us, but everybody else around us. We know that it decreases depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms. And when we're talking about mindsets, it's extremely important that we recognize we can't do this by ourselves. In life, when we accomplish something, it's important to be able to share it with our loved ones. And also, when we're going through hardships, when we're burdened with something tough, it's also important to be able to share that with the people around ourselves. So in 2024, or in any time of your life really, don't underestimate the importance of community. Because we all say, I love being alone. I love being independent. But if we go too much to the extreme, we want to make sure we don't start feeling lonely. It's really important that you have someone to share your life with, the ups and the downs. The last thing that's extremely important for a mindset to have is gratitude. So here's what's really interesting. I was looking at studies that were looking at depressive symptoms, and there were 2 groups. One group that was told to journal every morning things that they were grateful for, and another group that didn't, that had to do some other effect that didn't have to do with gratitude journaling, okay? Both groups experienced depressive symptoms in the beginning. After a period of time when they measured depressive symptoms again, Group A, the one that had written about things they were grateful for, experienced less depressive symptoms or showed less depressive symptoms than Group B, who didn't do the journaling in the morning. So think about what that means, because at first it sounds weird. You meet somebody and they don't love life right now. And you say, hey, I know you're in a really bad mood and everything sucks and you're tired, but what are a couple of things that you're grateful for? Are you kidding? Like, they want to tell you about all the things that absolutely suck. But something really cool happens in the brain. If you go to a therapist, one of the big components of CBT is writing down your thoughts, right? So if you're really angry, they might say, well, look, tell me exactly what the thought is, or write it down. And the really big component that I want you to leverage with gratitude is gaining leverage over our thoughts. Folks, it's nothing more than a habit. I can't stop having negative thoughts. That's a habit. And just like going to the gym, just like hitting the shower, just like drinking coffee, the more we do it or the less we could do it impacts the behavior, in this case the thought, and the probability that it will repeat. So how does this all relate to our mindset? When we're caught up in the negative, it's hard to see the positives in our lives. But if we sit down intentionally and we write down a few things that we're grateful for, or hell, one thing that you're grateful for that day, like why do you think prayer and religion is associated with better mental health, with lower depressive symptoms, lower suicide ideation, thoughts of taking your own life? When we're grateful for something, it acts as a shield, as a barrier towards the negativity. So even though my job sucks and my friend was rude to me and this is going terribly, I'm so grateful to have Sasha in my life because I'm able to talk to her and she makes it a little bit better. When I'm drowning, she makes me feel like I can breathe and I don't have to freak out. And the one bit of gratitude, I know it sounds too good to be true, but folks, there's studies out here. I'm not just making stuff up. Has an effect on the loop of negative thoughts. The moment we think something positive, it comes to a halt. And that is the first stage of combating this negative thought loop of negative, 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 negative. You have to insert a positive in there. And guess what? Over time, it gets easier and easier and easier. So my friends, if you enjoyed that, if that was interesting, let me know. Comment, like, subscribe, follow me on all the podcasting platforms. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Take care and bye-bye.